Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. We're on our final day of this job and we're pretty much just backfilling, but there was one more sump pump that we needed to plumb and connect. So let's take a look at that. Remember, we're putting 3 pumps in here in this project, and these are half horsepower. This is a Zoller M98. This is a high capacity pump. They really push the water anywhere from 60 to 120 gallons a minute, depending on the head. In other words, how high it rises and how far we push it. From the very back of the house to the sidewalk, probably about 45 gallons per minute. That's still more than a trash can of water every minute that it goes through. You're going to need check valves, and check valves only allow water to flow one direction. And you can see the arrows on the check valve telling you that's the flow of water. You're going to need a hacksaw, some glue, lots of 1.5-inch fittings. Most importantly, to get into the sump basins, you're going to need a 4-inch hole saw. We drilled this to bring the water into the pit. In other words, that 4-inch pipe that we're running through there, it's going to come right into the pit using that 4-inch hole saw. The other is you need a 2-inch hole saw, and this is to accept the 1.5-inch pipe. You can see it down here. This will be the exact diameter of the outside of the 1.5-inch pipe, so it's a nice tight fit. Let's go ahead and open up one of the pumps and let's take a look. So as you open up the pump, well packed, we're going to go ahead and pull it out. Remember, this pump is heavy. It's probably 40-45 pounds. It's a very heavy pump. So you get your pump out. It doesn't look that heavy, but this is all cast iron. We've got a discharge, 1.5 inch. We're going to screw a fitting in there. This is a male threaded 1.5 inch adapter, and it's going to thread right into this port. From that port, we put a small riser up, and then it will come to the check valve. Remember, check valves, they should be marked whoever you buy them from. This one's got arrows, tells me the flow of water is just that direction. So we'll have a small riser to the check valve, then it'll come up higher. This is sitting in the bottom of the pit, comes up the next riser to 1.5 inch 90, where it turns and comes out of the sump basin. We're also going to drill a hole, a 3/16-inch hole, as a pressure relief right here, because the pump's so powerful that when it kicks on, it can get airlocked between the riser and the check valve. So again, on your pump, we start with the 1.5 inch male threaded adapter. In other words, it's threaded on this side, it'll accept glue on this side. Put this in there as tight as you can make it with your hand. Next, you cut a small riser, and this is going to accept the check valve. We just need to keep this inside the pit, because remember, we're discharging outside the pit. We're not in a basement or a crawl space. This is outside. We like to keep the check valve contained. These are no-hub adapters. It's a 5/16-inch nut driver. Go ahead and stick that on there. Remember that you want your arrows pointing upward, real important. Using your handy dandy Black & Decker or whatever you got, go ahead and tighten all that up just as tight as your drill can make it. Tighten up all the check valves, or all the no hubs, because from the manufacturer you can see they could be loose. Loosen the top one because we still need to put a riser on it. Now we're going to drill a 3/16-inch hole into this small riser here. And this is because the pump is so powerful that when it kicks on, it's going to suck air up, and it could actually lock. Remember, there's water usually sitting on the top because it doesn't let it come back. It could lock the check valve, not allow water out. So we need just a little pressure relief. And yeah, it'll spit water out when it's pumping, but the pump's so fast, that small amount of water is not going to make any difference at all. It just gets sucked right back up. So we're going to continue doing the setup here on the next 2 pumps that we've got here, and then we're going to go around back and we'll start installing the pumps. So once you plumb your sump pump, you can run it anywhere you want. Remember, you can send this uphill a good 30-40 feet if you wanted to, uphill, or a few hundred feet with this M98. You can see we've got the M98 sits down in the bottom of our sump basin. Remember how we set it up? We've got the riser, the check valve, and what we've done is we've drilled a 2-inch hole through the side of the basin, and that's the exact diameter of the 1.5 inch pipe. It's all glued up right now, comes around, it's going to turn, I just haven't plumbed the rest of it, and it'll run, you know, all the way out to the sidewalk. So this section's done. We're going to start to backfill, you know, the whole side here. This little section right here, we're going to throw some gravel here just to help that water get into the sump basin. We've perforated the side of the basin, and this is also perforated, this black pipe down here. It just has a fabric around it to keep the dirt out. So this is one pump, it's all done. They happen to have an outlet right here, which is really great. Some places don't, like around back. Snap your lid on top, plug it into the wall or your outlet or your extension cord, and this one's ready to pump. So again, this is our sump pump discharge line. You can see it runs all the way back there. This is the discharge. And rather than use a pop-up, what we're going to use is a grate and a 3-inch 90. We're going to secure the grate because the pump's so powerful, and there's 2 pumps on this line, so we're going to definitely have to secure the grate. We're going to put a little set screw in here. That's real simple. This is a 5/16 inch nut driver, just like we use on the check valves. And a handy dandy Black & Decker. Just secure that nice and tight so that's not going to come off of there. Then we're going to go ahead and glue this up. Remember, this is a bushing that goes from Schedule 40 to thin wall PVC, and they don't carry these at any of the hardware stores. You've got to go to a plumbing supply store, or there's other ways to make this connection. If you've watched any of the other videos, there's lots of ways to do it, but this one is the absolute best. So we're going to go ahead and glue up the fitting. We slide our little donut O-ring in there, and then we're going to glue the piece of PVC. So we'll glue inside this fitting, and it just slides together. Let that set. We'll set this to the proper height. As you can see, whoops, we'll set this to the proper height, and we're all set. A good little tip: if you have your exterior sump pump or even the crawl space sump pump, and you have not perforated your pit, here we did not perforate this pit, we want to keep the water. You need to put something on top after you excavate. Usually we leave a nice 40-pound bag of gravel to set on top of the lid until the area settles around it. Remember that sump basin, the pit, it has ribs around it, and once that sand and dirt pack around that area, then it won't pop out of the ground. Otherwise, it can be like a boat. Water rushes down underneath of the pit, and it can float that right up. So put some weight on it. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.